From this it appears that the aforesaid substances are of free will in working, for it is evident that they act by choice, by the fact that through intellectual knowledge they have a judgment about what to do. But it is necessary for them to have freedom if they have control over their actions, as has been shown. Therefore the aforesaid substances are free will in action. Again, it is free for its own sake. Therefore that which is not itself a cause of action is not free in action. But whatever things are not moved or act unless they are moved by others, they are not themselves a cause of action. Therefore only those who move themselves have freedom of action, and these alone act by judgment. For the mover divides himself into the mover and the moved. But the appetite is moved by the intellect, or by the imagination, or by the sense of motion of which it is to judge. Of these, therefore, these alone judge freely whatever they themselves move in judging. Now the judge has no power to move himself to judge unless it is reflected upon his act. For if he acts to judge, he must know his own judgment. This indeed is only the understanding. Therefore, irrational animals are in a certain way free of motion or action, but not free of judgment, but inanimate things, which are only moved by others, nor even free action or movement. But the intellectual is not only of action, but also of free judgment, which is to have free will. Still, the form apprehended is the moving principle, according as it is apprehended under the principle of good or appropriate. For the external action in the movers itself proceeds from the judgment by which it is judged that something is good or appropriate by the aforesaid form. Therefore, if the judge moves himself to judge, he must move to judge through some higher form apprehended. This indeed can only be the very reason of good or appropriateness, by which a judgment is made of any particular good or appropriateness. Those, therefore, move themselves to judge only those things which grasp the general principle of good, or what is convenient. But these are only intellectual. Therefore only intellectuals move themselves not only to act, but also to judge. Therefore they alone are free in judging, which is to have free will. Further, motion and action do not follow from a universal conception except through particular apprehension, because motion and action are about particulars. Now the understanding is naturally apprehensive of universals. Therefore, in order that from the apprehension of the intellect movement or any action follows, it is necessary that the universal conception of the intellect be applied to particulars. But the universal potentially contains many particulars. Therefore, the application of the intellectual conception can be made to many and different things. Therefore, the judgment of the intellect about the things that can be done is not limited to one thing only. Therefore, all intellectuals have free will. In addition, some lack freedom of judgment, either because they have no judgment, such as those which lack knowledge, such as stones and plants, or because they have a judgment determined by nature to be one, like irrational animals, for by natural judgment the sheep judges the wolf to be harmful to him, and from this judgment he himself flees, and likewise in others. Whatever therefore has a judgment of action not determined by nature to one, must necessarily be of free will. But all intellectual things are of this kind, for the understanding grasps not only this or that good, but the common good itself. Hence, when the intellect moves the will through the form it apprehends, but in all things the mover and the motion must be proportionate. The will of the intellectual substance will not be determined by nature, except for the common good. Therefore, whatever is offered to him under the principle of good, the will may be inclined to it, without any natural determination preventing the contrary. Therefore, all intellectual things have free will coming from the judgment of the intellect. That is to have free will, which is defined as free judgment from reason.